Halloween is about pumpkin carving, costumes, and candy, but safety is key to making sure everyone has more treats than tricks. Acadian Ambulance provides these safety guidelines to help your group stay safe while trick-or-treating or attending events like Trunk or Treat. Always walk on sidewalks or pedestrian paths. If there are no sidewalks, walk facing traffic as far to the left as possible, and don't be distracted when walking. And always make eye contact with drivers before crossing the street. If you're driving, go slowly, anticipate traffic, and turn on the headlights. Children under the age of 12 should always go out with an adult. When it comes to costumes, decorate outfits and bags with reflective tape or stickers, and skip masks that can construct your child's vision. If you are handing out candy, it might be a good idea to offer non-candy goodies for trick-or-treaters who may have food allergies. And remember, don't eat any candy until you arrive home and can inspect it.